All right, full disclosure, guys. So what you're about to see, which you can kind of see right there-ish, was sent to me for the purposes of a review. Now, I was not paid for the review, nor am I biased towards this product in any way, so you're going to get an honest review of it. So let's get to the video. Alright guys, so what you're seeing right here is the Yeswelder CUT-55DS 55 amp plasma cutter. Now Yeswelder reached out to me and said, hey listen, you know, we like what you do. Let me see if I can get in the shot a little bit here. There we go. Yeswelder reached out to me and said, hey, listen, we like what you do for the welding community. We like your YouTube channel and your Instagram. So would you be interested in testing out our plasma cutter? And of course I said, sure, because you guys know me. Anything I test out, if it's junk, it doesn't even make the channel. If it's not junk, it makes the channel, and we pound the hell out of it trying to make sure that it works right. Now, I'm not doing an unboxing video on this thing because those are lame in my opinion. It comes with the plasma cutter, the torch, the ground cable, the regulator for the air, and the you know, a bag of extra tips and everything else for it, so that you can have some consumables on hand in case you run out. Now, my main concern with this thing is, how is it built? How's it gonna last? And you guys know what we put these things through. Between the welders and the plasma cutters, they get used every day. And I mean every day. My ESOB plasma cutter is about 5 or 6 years old now, and I've beat the crap out of that thing, and it's lasted, but it hasn't been without problems. So I'm interested to see what this, and I forgot to mention, this thing is less than $400. My ESOB 30 amp plasma cutter was 1,500 bucks I paid for that thing. So not cheap. And I had a Thermodynamics before that, 20 amp plasma cutter. That was $3,500. So big differences here. This is a sub $400 plasma cutter. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've been using it already. I put it to a test already just to make sure that it was worthy of being on the channel. And there's some cool stuff and there's some not so cool stuff, but to be expected at $400 price point. So first things first, they say that this is a 55 amp plasma cutter. So we tested that because my ESOB at 30 amps is the same physical size as this. So we're looking at the manual, and I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but if you pause on this manual and you look at that chart, it says that it does 35 amps at 220 volts and 55 amps at 110 volts, which that's backwards, obviously. But we went ahead and measured what we were cutting with, let me show you. So we went ahead and measured this thing while we were cutting at a full 55 amps with an amp clamp. And what we saw was about 39 amps was the most I could get it to. 39 amps was the most I could get it to ramp up to. And 39 amps is actually quite impressive for a plasma cutter this small. Like I said, my ESOB is a 30 amp plasma cutter, and I've only maxed it out to about 31. The fact that this is hitting almost 40 amps is actually super impressive. It's obviously not the 55 that they state, but a machine this size is not going to get to 55 amps. It's just physically impossible. There's not enough space in there for transformers and inverter parts and everything else to get it up to 55 amps without burning everything apart. So, number one, excellent. 40 amps, we're good. That's incredible for something under $400. And I'm gonna keep saying that. Second thing that I like, a DINS connector on the ground. Now, for those of you that have been welding for a while, a DINS connector is basically a half turn connector. You plug it in, you turn it a half a turn, it locks in. That gives you the availability to change ground clamps, to change ground wire thicknesses, to change whatever you want to change. On my ESOB, everything is hardwired into the actual case itself, and the ground wire is a thin little tiny 10 gauge, where this is like probably a 8 or a 4 gauge, somewhere around there on the ground. So that's excellent. Next thing, the torch. The torch is actually super nice. It's a modular design that has really nice tips and electrodes, and the way that it's put together is super cool. My ESOB has like 6 or 7 different parts to the torch, and every time you take it apart you lose stuff and you have to replace stuff and everything else. So this torch is nice. It is a little on the cheap side. I mean, you got this, you know, this little guard here just kind of moves back and forth and whatever, but that's gonna come off of there because I don't like those things anyway. If you guys have noticed the little bit of tape that's on here, yeah, I already went ahead and put it on top of some nice hot metal and melted through the sheathing, so we took care of that. But all the wiring is there, everything is good, everything looks good. The unit comes with its own regulator, which had a little bit of a leak when I first put it together, but nothing a little Teflon tape couldn't handle. And yeah, I mean, so far so good. We cut through some stuff. I'm gonna show you guys cutting through some stuff. We did run into an interesting issue with it though. It comes with 2 different size tips, 2 different size nozzles, I should say. The first nozzle is a 30 thousandths nozzle, and that is designed to be used with the 110 volt setting because this is a dual voltage machine. Now, it comes with a 40 thousandths or a 45 thousandths. Let's see, 45 thousandths. Comes with a 45 thousandths nozzle that's supposed to be used on the high amperage settings on 220 volts. What I found is that with the larger nozzle, I couldn't cut through 1/4 inch plate. Now in the manual, it states basically 1/4 inch plate is your limit. So we're right at the top end of it. And with the larger tip, I could not cut through the 1/4 inch plate. It would gouge it, but it wouldn't cut through it. I ended up switching to the 30 thousandths tip, running it at 220 volts, running it at full 55 amps. And truthfully, it actually cuts through 1/4 inch a lot nicer than my ESOB does. And I would imagine that's because the extra 10 amps that it's putting out versus the ESOB. So we are, we're on a mission, and we're getting pretty good results with it. So my thought is now what I'll do is I'll set you guys up. We're gonna cut some stuff. I'll show you guys how well it actually does cut. I mean, there's not a whole lot to a plasma cutter. It's basically an electric torch, right? So we're not gonna go through a ton of stuff. I will bring you in and show you the front panel and the settings and what I set it at so that it cuts right and everything else. So let's do that. Here's the front panel. The front panel is pretty simple. You have a pressure gauge that tells you how much air pressure you have, which is nice to have right there. My ESOB is on the back where you can't see it. And then you have this where basically you can run air through it all the time or only when you pull the trigger. So that now when you pull the trigger, you'll get air to come out of it. And that will stop. It runs for a predetermined length of time to cool the torch off. Then you have your amperage reading and your amperage dial. So we can turn this all the way down as low as 10, all the way as high as 55. And I did test this when I was running the amp meter on it. From about 40 amps all the way to 55, the max output you're gonna get is about 39 amps. Which, again, this machine, I don't know if you could tell how small it is, but that's a pair of pliers next to the machine. So it's pretty tiny machine. Then you have your 2T and 4T setting. Now, 2T means that when you pull the trigger, you're gonna get an arc, you're gonna get air. When you let go of the trigger, everything's gonna stop. 4T basically means you pull the trigger once and everything turns on and you start cutting. You pull the trigger again to shut it off. So you have an on-off, and then everything is on, and then another on-off, and then it all turns off. So if we set this to 4T, we pull the trigger, it's gonna stay on, and then we gotta pull the trigger again to shut it off. And so that's nice if you don't wanna hold the trigger down the entire time. But again, not really useful. I usually just use it so that when you pull the trigger, it goes, and then when you let go of the trigger, it stops, because you might have a hot torch running around. All of your connections on the front panel are pretty straightforward. You have your connection for your airline and your plasma torch. Then you have a connection for the pilot arc, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then you have the connection for your switch. So pretty much that's it. The back panel, pretty simple as well. You have the air regulator and the power switch, your air input, and all that happy stuff in the power cord. Now the power cord is a 110 volt power cord right here that comes with, in the package, the 220 volt adapter. And we're never gonna run this thing in 110. You know, we need to be cutting thicker stuff, so it's definitely an interesting little machine. I'm very, very excited to see how this thing works out. All right, so the first thing we're gonna cut is this 1/8 inch square tube stock. And you can see we already cut it once or twice. So I'm just gonna kind of run a cut straight down it, just so you guys can see how quickly this thing actually cuts. All right, so not too shabby. I mean, it cut through that like butter. So, and that was real time. So it was what, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe to cut that entire length. And this is the thickness of the frames that we usually do. So we're going to be perfect when it comes to cutting frames. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to the 1/4 inch plate. And you guys can see this stuff is super thick. And I actually have to check. You know what, I'm gonna measure that plate because I suspect it's thicker than 1/4 inch. That's correct. That plate is 3/8, not 1/4 inch, which is actually even more impressive. So in the chart here, you guys can see, if you wanna pause that, but basically it rates up to 6 millimeter, which 6 millimeters right around 1/4 inch. 3/8 is more at the 9 millimeter mark. It's actually 8.5, closer to 9 millimeters. So the fact that we're able to cut through this pretty well, and you'll see that in a second, is actually impressive. And again, that's that 40 amps that we're getting instead of 30 amps, because my ESOB can't even cut through this at all. So let's grab the torch and we'll cut through this 3/8 plate real quick. Yeah, I mean, that's actually surprising. Cut pretty well, very little dross on the end of that. But how it's cutting through 3/8 that smooth, I don't know. It's not even rated for that. But so far, this little guy is doing really well. All right, so a little addendum to this video. Here's this little guy, the old Yeswelder. See if we can get you a good shot of it, because it's kind of sitting on the floor right here. But you guys kind of saw the unboxing, me explaining this thing and me using it a little bit. But we went ahead and we wanted to test it out before I showed it to you guys, just to make sure that this thing was good. So let's see if we can find ourselves a little bit of light here, and we'll show you what we've been up to with it. So this Jeep that you see here was quite a nasty one. We did the frame repair like we always do on these things. But the difference is, normally I clean these frames up and then I cut them with the plasma cutter. And the reason being is because my ESOB plasma cutter is actually a contact plasma cutter, meaning that there has to be close proximity to clean metal in order to initiate the arc and get things started. With the Yeswelder machine, it is a pilot arc machine, meaning that when you pull the trigger, whether you're next to metal or not, it's gonna start an arc. So what I wanted to do with it is see with the pilot arc if it would blow through all this little garbage that you see here, which is seam sealer and undercoating and all kinds of other interesting crap. And the Yeswelder legitimately plowed right through it. I mean, you can see the cut quality is actually super nice. We even were able to blow through all of this crap back here. You can see that's all junk. That's all like this rubber undercoating stuff. And I mean, we literally sliced right through it with the CUT-55. So I'm gonna tell you, I used the crap out of it. I beat it up. I didn't hit the duty cycle, nor did I have any issues with it whatsoever. And the best part about it is with my ESOB, I would go through consumables like crazy. It would literally take me 6 nozzles to get through one Jeep. You can see we've been beating on this thing, running it at full bore 55 amps and just cutting our hearts away. And we're still on the original nozzle. This is the nozzle that came with the machine. This is the nozzle that you guys saw me cutting that 3/8 plate with. So for 400 bucks, guys, plus if you use the code MorFab, you get 10% off of this thing. So you get another 40 bucks off of it. So for basically $349, you're getting a almost 55 amp plasma cutter that it works really, really well. So I can't say enough good things about it. And I mean, we melted the case on the torch. We melted the case again on the torch. So we definitely beat this thing up, and it survived. It survived really, really well. So now it's just going to be a longevity test. You know, is this thing going to last through the test of time of us beating the crap out of it? And I think it will. So all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Do me a favor, head over to yeswelder.com. I'll put their link down in the description. Click on the link, go check them out. Use code MorFab and you'll get 10% off of everything on the website, and it'll get you guys started. I'm currently working with them to try to get a welder, and once we can get our hands on a welder, we'll be able to test how the welders are. But so far, if it's anything like the plasma cutter, I think we're doing pretty well. And I mean, come on, guys, for the price, you cannot beat this thing. And you'll see in the testing, or you saw in the testing, that, you know, we amp clamped it and it was only putting out about 39, 40 amps. Well, you know, it could be maxing out at 55 every now and then when it needs to, but usually the inverter machines tend to run a little conservative, so I'm not going to hold it against that thing, because truthfully, that $400 plasma cutter just completely smoked my $1,500 ESOB. So, yeah, go down, check them out, 10% off. You can't beat it. How can you not? But thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll catch you on the next one, which should be coming very soon. I actually have like 4 videos filmed. I just need finishing for all of them. I don't have the parts to finish all of the videos that I need to finish because everything is still messed up when it comes to shipping. So I'll see you guys on the next one, which should hopefully be pretty soon. And have a great day, everybody.